You give the people the freedom to be responsible. And more often than not, you'll be surprised that my experience, almost over 90% of the time, people are very, very responsible with the freedom that I feel is that, work from home was always difficult because when you are at home, there are unsaid expectations that will always be there, because that was a time when you are at home, you are working from home, your kids are also at home. That's there. Your family is at home, right? Obviously, they're not used to you being at home, right? So that's another thing as well. And so within all of this, you need to be empathetic towards the working scenarios that in spite of all of these things, which or distractions for lack of better word, so to say, people were still delivering. Well, so I have a son, he's just out of college. He keeps on telling me, you don't use your phone. There are so many things that you can do with your phone, right? So at least once a week, I get to know of a new feature that I can do with my laptop or my phone. According to him, I still live in a different age altogether when it comes to gadgets.
Welcome to the Coffee Q Show, where we sit down with some of the brightest minds in leadership for candid conversations over coffee. From insights on steering organizations to personal stories that shaped their journey, we bring you the human side of leadership. So grab your coffee, sit back, and join us for a fresh take on the leaders beyond the boardroom. In this episode of the Coffee Q Show, we are excited to host Rajesh Pawar, Managing Director at Yantra, a Riveron Company. While Rajesh started his career with hardcore manufacturing companies, followed by insurance and biosciences, he eventually mastered the art of leveraging technology to drive business success. At Riveron, Rajesh is dedicated to driving business growth through strong values, sustainable relationships, and innovative processes. So get ready for an inspiring conversation about transformation, leadership, and the invaluable lessons learned from a career spent at the intersection of technology and business. So, welcome Rajesh to the Coffee Q Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ekta. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited for this next 1 hour that we're going to talk about, to understand your perspective on how amazing places are, and to share some of the experiences that I've had over my last career.
Thank you, Rajesh. Even I look forward to a exciting conversation and learning about your journey and what all has helped shape the person and the leader that you are today. So thanks once again and welcome once again. Rajesh, tell me one thing. If somebody was to observe you outside of work, yeah, and what would their perspective be about you? How would they define you as a leader? Yeah.
That's a very interesting question to start off with, and it'll set a great tone for the conversation to come. So, as a person, I've always been an extrovert. I have always liked to be with people, because I have a very firm belief in the interpersonal connections that you make. Right. At the end of the day, there is as much as you can associate with machines. At the end of the day, people, my firm belief is that people like to be with people, work with people, right? Technologies, people, processes, machines come and go, right? So if I were to ask my friends, my colleagues who've been with me and seen me grow, right? The first thing that they'll obviously tell me is like, hey, you are a career textbook extrovert, right? I thrive in situations where I am in large groups of people, and being that along with it also comes a very high sense of collaboration, because at the end of the day, there is only as much as a single person can do, right? If you need to achieve and grow and learn, more importantly, you do need to listen to others, look and observe how others are, right? So that's something that I have been. And the other thing that I feel I display, or I firmly believe in, is empathy and thoughtfulness, right? Again, depending upon how you want to be treated is exactly a reflection of how you treat other people, right? So, and my experiences have taught me that whenever you understand or delve into more of the why than the what as a question, right, it always gives you a better perspective, and helps you understand yourself as well as the person that you're interacting with be much better, right? So if I were to sum it up in 3 words, like I said, extrovert, a people person, pretty extrovert, and thoughtful is something that I would feel that people would talk about.
Okay, thanks for that perspective on you, because I don't know you. Yeah, so yeah, good to have that perspective, and I'm sure when people are actually listening to this, especially from your circle of colleagues, friends, and co-workers and all, uh, they'll know exactly what you are saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so.
तो वो क्या कहते हैं, दूध का दूध एंड पानी का पानी हो जाएगा.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Good, good. So that's a great start off, like you said, to the first question. So, Rajesh, has there been a personal or a professional turning point in your life that has shaped who you are today?
So life is full of a set of infinite set of experiences, right? And having been now at seen both a fair share of corporate life as well, one of the things that comes to my mind is something that happened pretty early on in my career, right? When you are fresh out of college and just getting into that first managerial position, you feel that you're going to have all the energy and you feel that you're going to change the world, right? And you feel that, okay, fine, when you're doing something and you've been running at a speed, and suddenly you look around you and say, okay, why is not everybody not running at the same speed? Why is it that if you want to achieve something, why is everybody not along who's working on your team? And I started, like I said, I started my career with manufacturing, hardcore shop floor, right? So it was people across skill sets and education levels, right? So one of the things that came to what I realized, and it was a very very big surprise for me at that point, at that stage in my career, was that you know people do not always have the same goal. They might have the same, or let me say, the way of achieving the goal is different. Everybody wants to be successful, everybody wants to achieve something, but the way people want to achieve it and what drives them is different. So what drives me probably as a shift engineer way back in early 2000s, right, would be totally different as the people who are on my team who are actually operating the machines, right? And as when I look at now and then, when I started observing that both in personal life as well as in professional life, I realized that you know the more you understand about what drives people, the easier your job becomes. The easier it is to kind of align everybody towards a common, because when you paint the broad picture, at the end of the day, like I said, everybody wants to work towards. So if I were to take an example of manufacturing, everybody wants to achieve their production targets, everybody wants to achieve minimum downtime of machines, right? To be on time and everything, right? But how they want to go about it is going to be different, because people are at different skill levels, at different experience levels. There is a different thing motivating why they are coming to work. And I think that was one of my most key learnings as I started off in the earlier state of career, that you need to understand and read people in terms of what is it that's going to motivate them to get aligned to what you want to achieve, right? So start questioning, rather than analyzing what is the person doing, and right, start thinking about why is it that the person is doing, right? And then that will tell you and answer you what is it that is required for you to enable and to do for them to achieve their full potential, and as well as achieve a common goal. And that's something that has stayed with me throughout now the last 20 odd years. And even today, when I'm moved from traditional industries to something which is high tech, I work with so I'm probably one of the eldest people in the office here, right? So I work with the Gen X or Gen millennials, right? So different things drive them, but the underlying philosophy still remains the same. It's identifying what drives them, and once you know that, and you get a pulse of it, it's very easy to motivate them. Because I personally feel that everybody or most of the people that you meet are self-driven. You just need to tap into that and make them realize, okay, fine, and channelize that drive towards something that you can achieve.
Very true. Very important point that you have actually mentioned here, that each one of us has different set of agendas in life, and beside us also there's a lot. Everybody has a story. Everybody has their own challenges and everything. And if as a leader, a team lead, somebody in the leadership position like you, if uh, this is something that a leader understands, in an organization, it always helps to build the right kind of, cultural framework. Yeah. So thanks for pointing that out. Thanks a lot. And now I'll come to another question, which is more personal. What's the mantra that you follow to approach challenges in life?
See, first is to accept that there are going to be challenges.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times very early on, and I would get hassled very when I started off, why is it that I'm not able to solve it? Why is it this is not in my control? Because you come out of an engineering school, you think, everything is, I've learned everything and I can solve everything. Reality is very different. Right? So the first thing is to accept the fact that yes, there are going to be challenges, and there is not everything that is going to be in your control. Right? Now, once that is, you are at peace with the fact that, hey, that allows you the mindset to understand and dwell into why the problem exists. And what has benefited me is always breaking down the problems, right? So I also tend to be somebody who is a bit more process and method oriented. That's been my core area throughout my career as well, right? So break it down into small parts, right? And then start taking one step at a time, right? Do not try, things don't get solved sometimes overnight. It requires time. You need to have that patience, right, to go through it in terms of doing it. And steady progress is much more better and sustainable than an overnight solution that might be, right? It is a well thought out option, right? It takes care of a long term effectiveness, so to say. So that's one of the things that's there. And please be very respectful of the fact that, especially in team situations, right, most of the things that you're not just battling with a problem or a challenge alone. There is your superiors, your peers, vendor partners, everybody in the ecosystem, right? You need to respect the fact that everybody understands that it is a challenge. It's not just you who feels that, oh, it's a challenge, and everybody else is completely ignorant about it, right? So you need to respect the fact that everybody understands it's a challenge. Be patient, because typically in challenging situations, you will see that more often than not, a lot of people go into hyperdrive. People get anxious. People get lose patience. At that point in time, it's very, very important for you to be grounded, to maintain that calm, because it also acts, not just gives you a clarity of thought of what you want to do, it also projects the aura of person that, okay, fine, somebody is there who's in control when things are going out. And it gives a very positive vibe to people around you. That has helped me surpass a lot of challenges that I have seen both in personal and in professional careers.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for giving us this mantra of yours. And again, as we move on in life, these are things that we learn over a period of time. Okay, so initially, what might be a very overwhelming thing for each one of us, as we move on in life, we learn to kind of get to that first step, which is acceptance. Yeah. So accepting is obviously the one of the most important things in life if we really want to kind of address any problem or any difficult situation in life. Thanks a lot for this. So now I have actually through your profile I came to know that you are mentoring as well. You are in that position where a lot of youngsters you mentor. Okay, so my question to you is, like, you have you teach so many people. Okay, you mentor them, you guide them, but has there ever been a lesson or a perspective that you have learned from somebody that you mentored? And was it so important or impactful that you still remember it?
So one of the things that I see now, more recently, now that I've been in core tech now for almost over a decade, right? The thing that I've learned from all these youngsters who come in, right? We've seen that the trends, so-called market trends, or the things that they like or they do and they come up with is different. Education backgrounds are different. People who come in with different kinds of technologies, and we are also expanding very heavily in terms of different technology base. So one of the things that struck me is that one should always be excited about what's the next new thing, even at that level, right? And it's a very simple it could be as simple as a new feature that you didn't know your phone had. So I was talking to this fresh set of graduate trainees who had joined us, and I was asking them, what excites you, what is it that you want to do, or what motivates you, like all these deep questions that you ask freshers, so that to get the creative juice flowing, in terms of, because you come up with all these new ideas. So one of the things, so after the session, they were talking to me, and we were doing some photographs or something, right? So they said, I told them that you will take a regular photo and all of that. So one kid came and said, sir, what? So he called me to the side and says, sir, I just want to show you something. If you go to this setting and you do this, right, you can flip it, and there's a feature on in an iPhone that he showed me, right? Now, it's a very, very simple thing. It was a very simple thing. And what stayed with me was the fact that two things stayed. One, was the fact that people also want to share their knowledge with you, and it takes a lot of courage for people to walk up to somebody senior and say that, hey sir, I want to show you this. So while one thing is that obviously I got to learn something new, so so I like to call it my cool quotient. That's what I tell people in office, that if I learn something new about it, I say my cool quotient has gone up now. I know this. I know how you guys write this code and all of that. But it is also about the fact that it takes a lot of courage for people to walk up to somebody senior who is in a position of authority, and that's something that we should always be very, very sensitive to and keep an eye out for. Because sometimes we are busy in our work, and somebody is coming to us who's let's say fairly junior, and we, not because we want to do it on a record, but we just don't have the time, right? It's very important for us to take that time out, and he said that, I said that, what do you, he says, in college I used to do this. I used to take classes of people and say, and let them teach, so that's, I found that to be very exciting, like, how do people at that age have, I knew that when I was very early on in my career, I would have been half scared to walk up to, let's say, the MD of my company and say that, hey sir, you know what, you do a control C and a control V, you'll be able to copy and paste something very good. Those are days of early on computers.
Interesting. Another interesting thing you pointed out, and one thing, if you realize, it is equally important for a senior person, leader, or whoever it is, to accept that.
I have been a part of growing organizations, and one of the things that I can say for sure with my limited experience is the fact that acceptance goes a very long way when you are building organizations. People want to feel empowered, people want to feel accepted and valued, right? Irrespective across the startup, at what level they are at. And it also helps me because I am running a technology firm, right? I cannot obviously be an expert of all the 55-60 different things that my team does today, but it's exciting to know new things, right, for me, and that's what keeps me going as well. So one of the key things that I like about my job is I get to meet people who are working on different things.
And it also kind of reminds me of one thing, like we have little nieces and all, yeah, and they have some very exciting stuff to tell you, which you for you it's a surprise. Oh, this happens like this, oh, this happens like this, and they're super excited to share those things with you. And they like it when we are also excited to learn it, yeah. So it their energy on level also goes up, if you show that kind of energy to them.
Absolutely.
So
And this extends to not just office, but at work, at home as well. So I have a son who keeps on telling me that so he's just out of college, so he keeps on telling me, you don't use your phone, there are so many things that you can do with your phone. right? So at least once a week I get to know of a new feature that I can do with my laptop or my phone. So from him. So according to him, I still live in a different age altogether when it comes to gadgets.
That reminds me, something. One of the CEOs of a organization. He was giving a, kind of a speech at one of her events, and he mentioned that my 18-year-old son actually taught me how to use Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And he was like, why are you wasting so much time, on preparing and this and that? There is so much you can do. You can prepare presentations and this and that. And this actually shows that you have to be willing to learn from anywhere and everywhere in today's times. Yeah, gone are the days when you used to feel that, okay, somebody senior will only know exactly what to teach. Yeah.
The other thing that I have learned from this generation, young generation, is that it's okay, to be smart and do something quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've grown up in a diaspora where everybody told you that no, you need to be hardworking, you need to put in those long hours to do. But some of the things that these kids nowadays do, right? They're really quick. Sometimes you feel, oh, they're taking a shortcut, but it is as effective, right? And it's about time that we also adopted that, because that's the moving times, right? It's been evolving.
Great. I think this was really excellent, piece of share from you. Now, I'll just come to the next question. So, Rajesh, I've already shared with you about amazing workplaces, yeah, and nine pillar framework. So, at amazing workplaces, we believe that when leaders are empathetic, they help cultivate a great culture. So, has there been any instance in in your career, in your at your work, where understanding someone's personal story help you to lead them better?
So this has been one of my guiding principles of managing workplaces, right? Wherever I have worked, and I have worked across some very large organizations as well as even startups with only 10 people. It is very important to understand what drives the people along with you. One of my mentors in my previous role used to always tell us, she used to always say that in out of the 10 people that you meet, 8 people want to trust you and they want you to trust them, right? It's a very simple thing, right? But if you delve into it, it remembers, that what is it that comes along with this trust, right? What is it that they say that, they want to trust you and they want you to trust them. They want to trust that you will understand what is it that they want to achieve, and the trust that they want to put in you is the fact that both of them are aligned. And empathy becomes very, very key in understanding this equation as you grow as an organization, right? People want to work with people. They want to be with people who understand them, who will nurture them. So when I was in my post graduation days, one of the priests over there who taught us ethics, he used to speak about something called as responsible freedom and empathetic empowerment, right? So these two have really resonated with me over the years, right? That you give the people the freedom to be responsible. And more often than not, you'll be surprised that my experience, almost over 90% of the time, people are very, very responsible with the freedom that you give them. The second piece was being empathetic in the empowerment that you give, right? If you are empowering somebody, have the patience to let them make mistakes, right? Be sensitive towards how they want to run, right? It is not always, there is not just one way of doing things. There are multiple ways of doing things, and you need to be sensitive that, okay, fine, you need to have the patience to give them that space, right, to achieve what you've given them to, right? Rather than at every point in time just go and pick on them saying, hey, why you've not achieved this was supposed to be done now. That really doesn't do it. It may achieve that temporary goal, but what it inhibits is that the next time that person is not going to think on their own when you give them a problem. And as a growing organization, you need people who are going to think differently, because there's a limit to which one individual person at your level can do. Like, you need to learn, because there are 10 different solutions that can be there, right? And empathy obviously is the bedrock of all of this, right? You need to be very, very sensitive of what their needs are, right? So, and COVID taught us this, like, COVID and post-COVID era taught us a lot, because we all started working from home. People were working from an environment which was, the work environment was very different, right? You were used to coming to office, and then from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you are in a proper office environment where you don't have any other responsibilities, right? Other than office work. Work from home, while there's a lot of debate on the internet about whether it's good, bad, but what I feel is that, work from home was always difficult, because when you are at home, right, there are unsaid expectations that will always be there, because that was a time when you are at home, you were working from home, your kids are also at home because there is school, because earlier right, so that's there, your family is at home, right? Obviously they're not used to you being at home, right? So that's this is another thing as well. And so within all of this, you need to be empathetic towards the working scenarios, that in spite of all of these things, which or distractions, for lack of better words, so to say, people were still delivering, right? So if somebody is not available, and say, hey, in the lunchtime somebody is not there on then, so a lot of times we would see people saying that, oh, we pinged them but it's not there. I said, you need to understand, they have kids at home, right? It's a lunch period, the kids are going to get hungry, right? So it's not that they are moonlighting, or they're not working, they are just doing something which they need to do, and they're going to get back. So have that patience, right? Today they are in that scenario, tomorrow you might want to have, right? You might be in a scenario where you're not available for a call at some point in time. And we've been till date, like, for example, the longest of time, we've opened offices now, but we were a 100% remote company for the longest of time, and we did not see a dip in our delivery, right? Business as usual, it grew, we grew during the time as well. And I think one of the things that helped us grow was the fact that we were very, very empathetic towards the way people were working from home, right? We were always an organization who was flexible around it, but I think we reached a different level of understanding with people. And it's not just me as an individual, but across our organization as we were growing, right? We were very sensitive, and we work cross geos, right? So we have teams in India, we have a team in Canada and US. So we are working across 4 or 5 different time zones.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. In fact, in the initial question only, you mentioned that you're a very empathetic person as a leader. Yeah, so that kind of clubs together. Now, tell me, Rajesh, in today's tech age, yeah, people management is largely dependent on data. So, how do you balance data-driven logic with intuition or empathy?
Right. See, at the end of the day, as a leader, I am responsible for certain key metric that needs to be delivered and monitored, right? While so there's a very interesting podcast I saw the other day by one of the business leaders here. They said that, especially if I'm talking about the India diaspora, my experience is that they said that logic has always to be accompanied with emotion when you are looking at things, right? You need to understand that, okay, fine, if a particular metric that you're driving, right, is not meeting it, first thing is that the logic will tell you, get into details, find out the reasons. The emotion tells you how you are going to explain it to the team and get it. You can't just say that, okay, fine, if my sales numbers are down, hey, start making 200 calls a day. Why are you not able to call the customer? Why is the project not happening on time? Right? You need to do this in 4 hours. You need to do this and deliver this by the end of the day, right? Only logic will not dictate sustainable. You need to be emotional about the fact as to why is it not happening, okay? And it is very important to give the feeling to the person that you are with them in it, rather than a level above who's just looking down on them saying why it has not happened, right? And that has worked for me as personally, when they feel that, okay, my management, my senior team member is not afraid of rolling up his sleeves and getting with me, working through the solutioning aspect, understanding where I am stuck, rather than saying, why are you stuck over here, right? It always helps. The way that it has returned is the fact that I have never had to call somebody and convince them that, hey, you know what, there's something to be delivered right now, can you extend a little bit to do it? Because the culture that we have is built on this kind of things that, okay, fine, everybody understands that there's a delivery. Sometimes there are tough decisions that need to be taken, but it is not there's no malintention around it. It is the business. We understand why it is. And it, like I said, coming back to again empowerment, right? Making people a part of the decision making process, right? That has helped us quite a bit, right? Because everybody knows the numbers. When people understand why those numbers need to be driven, right, that's where the alignment comes in, and it things become easier to achieve.
Very true. In fact, yesterday also I was speaking to somebody, and they mentioned that in our organization we kind of build a culture of walk the talk. So the leaders are always first showing the way, how it's done, when it's done, you know, and that's how it imbibes in the culture, and it gets into the framework of the culture. Very similar to what you mentioned right now, that your team members know when to stretch, when not to stretch, and that ownership is there. And I think that ownership actually comes if they see their leaders also doing the same thing. So now, Rajesh, tell me one thing. Is there any personal go to hobby, passion, or habit that keeps you grounded in the extremely challenging and fast paced startup environment of today?
There are a couple things, right, that come to mind. What, especially when you say, a fast-paced environment, changing environment, right? The industry that we are in is constantly changing. We are implementers to softwares which are changing every 6 months. So one of the things that I try to do to the extent possible, and I've made a conscious habit of making this as a habit, is basically learning new things. Now, it's not possible to learn everything about it, but at least being aware. And I think being aware is the first step, where you need to be aware of what is happening, what is changing, and you need to constantly make a effort to do that, right? Because there are so many different avenues for such information. Keep on reading, and self-learning is very, very, very critical for all leaders uh, across the industry, right? We cannot rely on our experience. Oh, I've gained an experience in this particular industry for 20 years. I know everything that I know for it, and I can run the business for the next 20 years. No. Business dynamics is changing every day. Technologies are changing every day. The way people behave and react to it is changing every day. You need to be in the game, constantly be in the state of learning new things, reading about, getting to talking, meeting new people, right? So assimilating knowledge and variable knowledge, because when I'm talking as a conversationalist, right, I cannot just talk about just technology. If I'm, let's say, for example, if I'm going on a sales pitch, the person that I'm talking to is wanting to know about something more about what I can solve, right? So if you can talk about multiple different things that you can correlate to, it always helps build that kind of a connection. And that's something that I have constantly doing as a hobby. If I have to relate to it, where, like, so I believe food is one way to experience different and new cultures, right? So one of the things that I do, and it stems from that, learning about a culture. Where I'm going to a new place, you experience it through food, and if you see and you travel, you see that how food is influenced by the cultures, right? So whether it is inland thing, from use of certain spices, or the method of cooking, or the kind of food that people eat and is grown there changes, and it's a huge impact on the culture. And culture obviously has a huge impact on the kind of people that come and the mindset that comes along with it. So that's something that I have started doing consciously now for a sizable amount of time itself.
Okay, interesting. That's a new perspective. Yeah. So I won't have actually thought about food, frankly. So yeah, interesting. Now, tell me one thing, Rajesh. If you had to distill everything that you've learned till now at work and in life into one key principle or philosophy, what would it be?
So, if I have to look at things, either just one particular thing, right? Thoughtfulness is something that I think, if I have to look at both personal as well as professional, is very, very important. You have to be mindful and thoughtful of what you want as an individual. What is it that you're expecting out of the other people, and what is it that the other people are expecting out of? And as far as you have this equation sorted, I think everything else kind of falls into place sooner or later.
Thanks for that. Now, this is our last question of the Coffee Cues show today. What's one change or achievement, either in your personal life or career, that you hope defines the next decade for you?
I think we focus too much on the career from an organizational health, organizational achievement, growth, ambition perspective, right? What we forget, that we as an individual are a very, very important cog in that wheel. And I think you need to focus at the stage that I am in, I think the next 10 years, I need to focus a little bit more on my own health, mental health, physical health, get sustainable habits, more right, sustainable habits that you can, right? Because that kind of then fireballs and snowballs into other things that you are involved in, right? So healthier practices, healthier living, more complete set of things, not just work, give your time to everything around you. And that's something I think a lot of people should put into place for their, and that's my advice to people as well. Don't make just what you do at work completely and govern it. It should have a wholesome thing. Focus on your health, focus on mental health. Mental health is a very underrated topic in a lot of places. We do not talk about it much, but you should speak about it a lot. That's something that's going to.
Thank you, Rajesh. I think that was, another unexpected answer. Yeah. So thanks a lot. And now we move on to our rapid fire round. Okay. So that's a quick one. Define yourself in one word.
People person.
Okay. What's one superpower that would make your work life easier?
Reading minds.
Okay, interesting. One moment from your childhood you cherish the most.
We'd gone on a holiday when I was very young. And it was the first time my dad gave me a set of, we were in Singapore, he gave me $5 and he said, you decide what you want to do.
I think, as a child, if you have money to spend, I think that's one of the most wonderful feelings that one can have. Yeah.
And suddenly you don't know, okay, I have never made this decision, right? It's always somebody, as a kid, people are making decisions for you. So that was like,
and especially from the kind of times that we come
from, right? Yeah.
A quote or saying that guides you in life.
Failure proves that your will to win was not strong enough. But as I matured as an organization, it says that, okay, failure is going to be a part of your life. You should look forward to your next success.
One book that you think that everyone should at least read once in life.
Ikigai.
If you could switch careers for just one day, what would you do?
Chef.
Oh. So I should have known, the earlier question that you answered about food, yeah? One quality you wish you had more of.
I think personally I need, there's always room for having more patience with things.
If you had one unexpected day off with no responsibilities, how would you spend it?
I would go on a drive.
And last one, if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Try to reduce disparity.
Okay, thanks Rajesh. I think this was equally wonderful. Yeah. I really enjoyed this conversation that I had with you. Thank you once again for being on the Coffee Q show. Wonderful having you as a guest today.
Thank you, Ekta. Really insightful questions. It allowed me also to think back and see, okay, how I am and what is it and correlate it. Probably a couple of takeaways that I have is that, the questions that you've asked are going to be now studying and I'm going to look at how I can improve them and see what can be done. Yeah. Really nice. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, great. Same here. Thank you so much once again. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.